Hey everybody, welcome to Always Bored, Never Boring, and my first attempt to film a playthrough of Space Marine Adventures Rise of the Orks. I have already done a couple of videos on this game. I have done an unboxing and initial thoughts video, and then I have done a video showing how to assemble the miniatures, which are from the Space Marine Heroes line of easy build miniatures that go together without clippers or glue. But right now, we're going to play a game. I have set up the board. You can see that I have already positioned the 5 Marines, and that is something to note about this game. It comes with 5 Marines, and you will always use all 5 Marines in your games. You don't pick a squad. Although I do believe we may get an expansion later on down the line. That is my gut feeling. In addition to positioning my Marines, I have set up some supply areas. Every area that has an orange and black pattern on it gets a supply token, and also I have set up my generators. There are generators positioned all around the board, and the orcs that are invading will be attempting to destroy those generators, and I of course will be attempting to make sure that doesn't happen. Down the side of the board we have all of the character sheets, and I have organised those in command order because in this game, the order sequence is static. We will always start with our Blood Angel, then our Salamander, then our Ultramarine, then our Imperial Fist, and finally our Space Wolf with the Cyclone Launcher. For this first video, I have decided to do the Novice difficulty setting. This is the easiest mode designed to get you familiar with the game, and also just to give you an easy game experience if you're not much of a gamer, or you want a light beer and pretzels game, or you have decided to play with a group of young children. I just thought that would be the best way to introduce the game to my channel, and also it just makes things a little bit easier for me. Filming these playthroughs is difficult because you have to constantly think about what you're doing and saying and what's appearing on the camera, whilst also keeping all the rules in your head and trying to make sensible tactical decisions, so it makes sense to start with the Novice setting. The game comes with a series of cards which tells you how to set up each difficulty level. We can see here that for this particular game we will be facing a wave of orcs comprising 20 boys, 5 knobs and 5 commandos, and each turn 5 orcs will be appearing on the board. I'm not going to go through all the rules up front. I've already talked a lot about the rules in a previous video, but we will explain things as we go. For now, we're just going to spawn the first wave of orcs. To do that, we will be rolling the d6 to determine which of the 6 entry points around the board each of the tokens appears in, and the tokens are being pulled randomly from a pile just off camera. The first one goes on 6. The second on 2, and already we have our first commando. The first token was a boy, this one is a commando. He is faster, he has a movement of 3 instead of 2, and he is also tougher. He has a toughness of 4 instead of 3. Six again, because we already have an orc boy on space 6, this new token will spawn directly in front of that orc, meaning he's already one step closer to destroying one of my generators. 4. And finally, 3. And here we have our first knob. Same speed as an orc boy, but they hit harder, they have an attack of 3 instead of 2, and they are tougher with a toughness of 4 instead of 3. With the orc wave generated, we move into the Terminator action phase. Each Terminator as standard gets 1 move and 1 attack, which they can do in any order, although most of the Marines have special rules that break that particular format. For example, our Blood Angel can take 3 moves and 3 attacks. However, to offset that increase in actions that he has, he can only move 1 space every time he takes an action, and he can only attack enemies that are adjacent, so he's not going to be attacking anything on this first turn. So what we're going to do is we're going to move him to try and get that first supply token. And when you take a supply token, you have to take the top 2 cards of the supply deck, pick one and keep it. We have picked for the Emperor, which says you can play this card after any Terminator misses an attack. Change the attack dice roll to a 4. That's a very good card because it means at any point I can automatically kill a target if I fail the dice roll. The second card I've picked is Shooting Drills, which says you can play this card before Brother Etrus takes his turn, and this card is specifically for Brother Etrus. It says instead of making a move action this turn, Brother Etrus can choose to make a second set of up to 3 attack actions as explained on his datasheet. They are both good cards, but I'm going to go with for the Emperor because I can use this after any Terminator misses an attack, so that's quite versatile. So this will go to Brother Angelus until we need it. Brother Angelus still has a move action left, so I'm going to move here because I want to get him down onto that red space in front of the generator because that is where our orcs are going to be going. Next up is the Salamander, and the Salamander really needs to head to the top of the board. We need to get him positioned on that red space so that he can stop those invading orc boys from getting onto the generator. So we're going to head that way, and we're going to go via the supply spot so we can pick up a card on the way. We can move those 2 spaces because the Salamander has a move value of 2, unlike the Blood Angel, who only has a movement value of 1. We have another 2 supply cards to pick from. The first one I drew was Righteous Strength, which says you give this card to Brother Sergeant Angelus, the Blood Angel. You can play this card before Brother Sergeant Angelus attacks. Treat the next orc token as having toughness 2. So that's quite good. It basically means you have a 5 in 6 chance of killing the target. These are the kind of cards that you really want when you're playing the harder difficulty settings and you have things like war bosses and weird boys and big mechs on the board because they are more difficult to take down. For this novice setting, we only have to deal with commandos, boys and knobs, so not so important. The other card we have is Drive Them Back, and it says you can play this card at any time. Pick an orc token, remove that orc token from the board and place it at the nearest orc breach hex, following the rules for adding orc tokens to the board. That's pretty good because it means if one of the orcs is getting too close to destroying one of our generators or is about to injure one of our terminators, we can push that orc token back to an entry point. So that's the card that I'm going to take in this particular case. Now, where the Salamander is sitting, normally he would be able to take a shot at that orc that is in front of him, because the way line of sight works in this game is if you can draw a line from anywhere on your hex to anywhere on the target hex, you can take a shot. If you can draw that line from the center of your hex to the center of the target hex, you get a clear shot. If you can draw it from any other point, then it is a shot where the target is in cover and the target will get +1 toughness. So in this case, normally I would be able to shoot at that boy, but he would be classed as being in cover. However, our Salamander has a special heavy flamer gun, which only shoots in straight lines. So he can't actually get a bead on that orc boy and is unable to attack this round. So we are going to move on to Brother Lucian, the Ultramarine. He can move up to 2 spaces, and his special ability is that after he has made an attack action, he can immediately make a second one against the same or a different target. He doesn't have clear line of sight to anything, and it should be pointed out that range is unlimited in this game except for the case of the heavy flamer. So that's something to bear in mind. You can shoot pretty much across the board if you can get eyes on your target. But we're just going to go and get that supply token that is right in front of him. The first card we have picked is a Heroic End. You can play this card after any Terminator has dealt damage but before they are taken out of action. Pick one Orc token next to that Terminator, that Orc token is destroyed and then that Terminator is taken out of action. Again, that's a card that's going to be more beneficial in the later difficulty settings when you are dealing with war bosses and the like. The second card is for the Blood Angel, and it says you can play this card after any Terminator makes a move or attack action. Pick one Terminator that is not Brother Angelus. That Terminator immediately makes one move action or one attack action. That's really good. It's extra attacks or extra movement when you need it. That's the card that I'm going to pick. And because it has Brother Sergeant Angelus's name on it, you would give this card to the player controlling the Blood Angel, who, in this particular case, is me. Hooray! So we're getting some pretty decent cards in our hand, but we're not killing any orcs, and that's what we really need to do. Next up is our Imperial Fist, and he has a decision to make, because you may have noticed over here we have a sneaky commando who has a move value of 3. When that commando activates, he is going to immediately move towards the closest generator, which happens to be there, exactly 3 spaces away from him. Normally, if an orc finishes its turn next to a generator, it will destroy that generator, and of course if you lose all 6 generators, it's game over. However, I have positioned Brother Angelus next to that space, and if the orcs have a choice between attacking a generator and attacking a space marine, they will attack the space marine because they're not going to give up the opportunity to smash the Umis. So I could move the Imperial Fist around, take some shots on that commando and try and take him out of action, because we know once that commando activates, he is going to inflict a wound on Brother Angelus, because orcs don't ever roll dice for attack. As soon as they finish a move next to a Terminator, they inflict their damage. Normally that would be 2 damage, but Brother Angelus has a Storm Shield and he reduces damage to 1 no matter how much damage is inflicted on him. And I think we can cope with him taking a single wound. Our Imperial Fist is going to start tromping to the south corridor, where he's going to have a good line of sight on incoming orcs, and also he will get an opportunity to have a crack at this knob down here, who is the most powerful thing on the board. So we move 2 spaces, and if we use our very handy line of sight stick, we can see we do have line of sight to our knob. Unfortunately, this is not a clear line of sight, because going from the center of this hex to the center of this hex, we would be clipping along that wall and clipping along that wall. So our knob is in cover, which means his toughness increases by 1, so he has a target toughness of 5. That means when I attack, I need to roll 5 or more to kill him. On the plus side, Brother Etrus has an assault cannon, which means he gets to take up to 3 attacks, and each attack can be on the same target or another target within 2 spaces of the original target. So I'm in a position where I can unload 3 shots into this orc. That's a miss. That's a bigger miss. But that is a 6, that is a kill, and that's all I needed to do. First blood to the Imperial Fist, as it should be. 1 orc down, 29 to go. Once I've killed them all, I win the game. Finally, we have Brother Stormheart, the Space Wolf with the Cyclone Launcher. And while it may not look like it, he actually is in a position where he can move and take a shot, because we can move him to here. From there, he actually has eyes on that boy over there. Now, it is an obscured shot, it's not a clean line of sight, but Brother Stormheart has the eyes of the wolf, which means that an orc can never benefit from cover when he is attacking. Furthermore, any orc that is at least 3 spaces away, when Brother Stormheart attacks, he unleashes his Cyclone Launcher and will also attack every adjacent orc. So I will actually get 1 attack on the target orc and then 1 attack on the adjacent orc. An opportunity to kill 2 for 1. That's a 6 for the first one. And a 6 for the second one. That's 3 6s in a row. That's got to be the end of my winning streak there. I'm not expecting to see many more 6s for the rest of the game. The Terminators have finished their activations, which means we go to the Orc phase. And what will happen here is that every Orc on the board will move. First, any Orc that can reach a generator will move, and then any other Orc will move. And the way they move is they will make the shortest route towards a generator, and if there's a choice, if they can do it, they will reach that generator whilst moving within range to attack a Terminator. That sounds a little bit complicated, but in practice it works very well. Literally, aim for a generator, and if you ever have a choice of 2 spaces to move to, and one is adjacent to a Terminator and one isn't, the Orc will head towards the Terminator, as long as when he does that, he doesn't move further away from the generator, so as long as he stays on mission. First of all, we're going to move our commando because he can actually reach a generator. But, as I mentioned before, he will not attack the generator. If he had done, he would have immediately destroyed it. Instead, he attacks Brother Sergeant Angelus, and Brother Sergeant Angelus will take a wound. So we mark that wound on our character sheet. Next, this Orc will move. He has a movement of 2. And this is his closest generator, so he goes 1, 2. We now go back to the spawn phase. We know that we are spawning 5 Orcs per wave, so we roll for them as we did at the start of the game. That's a 4. More trouble for our Ultramarine. But it's just a boy. 5. That's another Commando. 4 again. 6. And finally, 1. With that dealt with, it's time to activate our Terminators again. We start with Brother Angelus, and Brother Angelus has something he wants to say to this commando. Brother Angelus gets up to 3 attacks on adjacent targets, so he is going to start by saying, no, bonk. A 3 is a miss, but the 5 will do it. He actually has 1 attack left, but there's not really anything he can do with it, so we are going to move him, and we're going to see if we can plod across to that supply point over there, see if maybe we can pick that up and also deal with that Orc that's coming in from the northeast sector. Next up we have our Salamander. He is going to move to stand on the north generator, and then he is going to unleash his heavy flamer on that approaching boy. The flamer has a range of 5 in a straight line, but attacks everything within that range of 5. Unfortunately, that's only a single Orc in this case, but sometimes when the board is getting crowded, the heavy flamer is a very useful weapon to have, especially as any targets for the heavy flamer have their toughness reduced by 1. So this Orc boy only has a toughness of 2, meaning I have a 5 in 6 chance of incinerating him mercilessly. And that's another 6. Something is amiss. My dice has been possessed. Next up, it is the turn of the Ultramarine, and he is going to have to put himself in danger. He is going to have to stand right there on that generator. The reason being, if he doesn't, and those Orcs survive, they are going to destroy a generator, and I don't want that to happen. He now gets to make 2 attacks. Hopefully, if he can kill this target, he will be able to get a shot on this one. It will not be a clean line of sight for the second one, which means the target will be in cover, but potential to clear out 2. Unfortunately, he has fluffed his initial attack there, so he does get a second attack, and he really needs to pull this one off. And he does. That is a 5, so that will kill that boy there. Next up, we have our Imperial Fist. He is obviously going to move into that bottom row because he is going to try and clear out these boys down here. He is well positioned. He gets up to 3 attacks, so we will start with the closest one, obviously. That's a 5, that's a kill. Second attack. That's a 1. Third attack. This has to be a success. And it's a 3. It is. He scrapes through with another kill. Finally, we have our cyclone launcher, and he is going to have to move around and attack this commando. The reason being, that commando is going to cause some damage on this turn. As I mentioned before, an orc will always move towards the closest reactor, and if there's a choice, they will go the route that will allow them to attack a space marine on the way. So if we look at the two closest reactors to the commando, we can see we have 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1, 2, 3, 4. So although he can't actually reach this reactor because the space marine is in the way, that's the way he's going to go. He is going to go that way so that he can attack that space marine. So our cyclone launcher really needs to kill that commando. Our cyclone launcher is operating like a rotating turret at the moment. He gets one go at this and he needs a 4. And it's a 5. It's another kill. I really am being very lucky with my rolls here. I thought I might have to use my For the Emperor card there to remove him, but no. That's the end of the Terminator turn, and only one orc on the board. So he's going to move towards the closest reactor, which happens to be the one that Salamander is standing on. And now it's time to spawn another set. That's a 3. A new boy arrives, right in the line of sight of our Imperial Fist. It's another 3. That actually works in my favour very much. And it is another orc boy. 2. That's another commando, spawning right in front of Brother Angelus, who probably isn't going to be pleased about it. 3 again. Oh wow. And it is another boy. And 5. A lonely boy arrives at point 5 and finds himself staring a cyclone launcher in the face. Brother Angelus starts the turn and he wants to deal with that commando. He moves forward 1 space, he gets up to 3 attacks. And he only needed the 1, because that is enough to kill the commando. He has 2 moves left, so he may as well have a go at strolling up to see if he can get that supply token. He may well be called back by the arrival of something on spawn point 2, but oh, he'll be able to make it back if he needs to. Next up we have our Salamander, who wants to deal with that orc boy that is sneaking up behind him. Flame on. It's a 1. That is a problem. Okay, next up we're going to move our Ultramarine. He's going to leave the generator for a moment because there is nothing on spawn point 4 for him to worry about. And he's going to go and he's going to try and shoot this orc boy over here. And then he gets 2 attacks on that orc boy, requiring a 3. That's a 4. Good enough. Unfortunately, he cannot get eyes on anything else, so that's the end of that. We now move on to Brother Etrus, the Imperial Fist, who has an issue with these orc boys that he wants to discuss with them. So he gets up to 3 attacks. Now remember, all of his attacks have to be against the initial target or any target within 2 spaces of that target. So if we can kill this guy, we can actually move straight onto this guy and then this guy as well. So we do have the potential to clear this whole row. That's a 3. That's enough to kill the first one. That's a 5. That's enough to kill the second one. And a 4 for the 3rd attack, and that clears out the 3rd one. That's a really good turn. Made even better because the Imperial Fist still has a movement that he can make. So he is going to advance and collect this supply token. I have drawn For the Emperor. We already have a For the Emperor card. It allows you to change an attack dice roll to a 4. The second card is Diverted. Play this card after an Orc token is added to the board. Pick a different Orc breach hex and place that Orc token there instead, following the rules for adding Orc tokens to the board. That's also a really good card. I've had this card in a previous game and it actually saved the day somewhat. But I have things so under control at the moment in this Novice setting that I think I'm going to take the For the Emperor card. And now it's our Space Wolf with the Cyclone Launcher, and you may have noticed that he can actually move around and take a crack at the remaining Orc boy, and that's exactly what he's going to do. One attack, hitting on a 3+. And that's a 6. It's the Orcs' turn, and it looks like there's not a lot for them to do. Maybe groan a bit, limp around a bit, try and crawl to an exit point, because they're so very, very badly mauled at this point. We'll go straight to spawning new ones then, shall we? Spawn point 4. And it is a knob. Spawn point 4 again. This is because I moved the Ultramarine. And it's another knob. 5. It never rains. 3. That's just a regular boy. And 5 again. It's just a regular boy, and we shall place him like so. Actually, you know what? I've changed my mind. We're going to place him there. And now it's time for the Terminators to activate. We start with our Blood Angel, who is obviously going to claim that supply token that he's been tromping his way towards for the last couple of turns. The first card I have picked is My Faith is My Shield. You can play this card when any Terminator would be dealt damage. Reduce the damage dealt by 3. That's a big card. The other card is specifically for the Imperial Fist. It says you can play this card before Brother Etrus makes an attack action. Brother Etrus treats all Toughness 3 Orc tokens as being Toughness 2 until the end of the round. So that's a good card for clearing out boys. Unfortunately, I'm not dealing with boys, I'm dealing with knobs. So I'm going to take the My Faith is My Shield card instead. And Brother Angelus has 1 movement point left. He's going to start moving back towards spawn point 2. Next up we have the Salamander, and you will see why I repositioned that Orc boy. Because the Salamander is going to advance 2 spaces and he will be just in range to try and set fire to that boy. So here we go, we need a 2+ because the toughness is reduced by 1 when being hit by a heavy flamer. And there's the one that I've been expecting for a while. The perfect one. The one that turns up just at the wrong time. So yeah, that's a miss. But it's okay because Brother Lucian, the ever ready, ever stalwart Ultramarine, is going to deal with the Orc boy. First shot needing a 3. That's a kill. Good old Ultramarines. You can always rely on them. He has a second attack to make, so obviously we're going to try and shoot that knob there, needing a 4. And that's a 6. Showing the Salamander how it's done. And just to be on the safe side, he's going to move back onto that generator space to protect it from those advancing knobs. Like so. Right, Brother Etrus is up. And he obviously wants to kill these knobs down here. So we will target the first one, needing a 4. That is a 1. I'm pretty sure these are the last 2 knobs that are in the spawn pool, because there's 20 boys, 5 knobs and 5 commandos. And I think we've killed 3 knobs at this point. So I am going to use one of the For the Emperor cards. I'm going to use Brother Etrus's For the Emperor card, which converts that 1 into a 4 and will therefore kill that knob. And then I will still have 2 more attacks left to try and take out the second one. So we discard this card and we remove this knob. One of the joys of playing on the Novice setting is when to use your supply cards isn't such an agonizing choice. When you play on the more difficult settings, You really, really want to save those until you absolutely desperately need them. Second attack. That's a 5. Thinking about it, I should have saved my For the Emperor card until I'd rolled the second dice, shouldn't I? But there you go. It's done now. I have one shot left that is wasted because I have to target something that was within 2 spaces of my original target, and this sneaky boy down here is well out of the way. I can't even get a shot on him with the Space Wolf, which is adding insult to injury. I guess the Space Wolf's just going to move 2 spaces round so that the Orc will wander into his line of sight next turn, but the Orc will probably be long dead by the time it gets to the Space Wolf's turn anyway. On the Orc's turn, the Orc advances. One very brave, very foolish Orc. He's going to die a glorious death. The crosshairs between an assault cannon and a cyclone launcher, probably not where you want to be. There are 10 tokens left in the spawn stack, so this is our penultimate turn, and I think it's safe to say that I have the situation well in hand. But just a reminder, this is the novice setting, this is the learning setting, this is not an actual mode for a challenging experience. We're spawning on 6. 1. And that's actually a knob. I obviously miscounted before. That would be our final knob now. That is the 5th one. 4. Just a boy. 1. That's up at the top with the knob. I think the salamander will have something to say about that. And finally the 6. That's actually a commando, so the salamander is between a rock and a hard place right now. So first of all, we have our blood angel. He is obviously going to head north and try to sort out these orcs that are advancing in. That's 2 moves. He now has up to 3 attacks, needing a 3. There's a 4, so that kills the boy. Now he still has 1 move action and 2 attack actions left, so it kind of does make sense for him to go and get involved with that knob. 2 attacks, and we need a 4. That is a 1. That's a 6. Got so many 6s today. Next up, the salamander activates, and he obviously wants to deal with that commando that is directly beside him, so he opens fire with his flamer and he will hit both the commando and the boy behind the commando. And remember, the toughnesses of the targets are reduced by 1, so we need a 3 or more for the commando. That is a 1. And then for the orc boy, that's a 6. Now with only 1 round of spawns left to deal with, we might as well use some cards. So I'm going to use Natural Commander. Natural Commander says pick 1 Terminator that is not Brother Sergeant Angelus. That Terminator immediately makes 1 move action or 1 attack action. So I'm going to pick the Salamander, and he's going to take another shot at that Commando. Remember, we're needing a 3 here. And there's a 5, so that's more like it. The Commando is gone. Next up, Brother Lucian is going to deal with this boy. Getting up close and personal. 2 attacks, requiring a 3. That's a miss. That is also a miss. But you know what? It's fine. Let's use our For the Emperor card, which turns that 2 into a 4 and kills the boy. Here's that card again. Just a reminder, I actually had 2 of these. I'm not using the same card twice. Now, burning through cards like that is certainly shenanigans you can only get away with on the novice setting. On a harder mode, I probably would not have done that. So next up, Brother Etrus is going to take shots at this boy. He gets 3 attacks. He only needs 1. And once again, our Space Wolf is left with absolutely nothing to do. Normally, the Space Wolf is very much a linchpin of the team. And in fact, we have no Orks on the board at all, so we go straight to the final spawn round. That's a 2. Just a regular boy. A 3. Again, just another boy. A 4. Another boy for our Ultramarine to deal with. 6. Another boy. And our very final spawn of the game is a 3. And it is a Commando. Well, the final turn of the game is going to be something of an anticlimax for Brother Angelus because he doesn't really have anything to do. That's it for him. The Salamander targets the Orc in the northwest, requiring a 2. It's another 6. Our Ultramarine is in a fight to the death with an Orc boy, so we're going to go straight to attacking there. That's a 5, and that's a kill. He's got movement points, but there's not really a lot of point in using them. It's the end of the game. If there was going to be a few more rounds of the game, I probably would back up to there. Brother Etrus wants to deal with this Commando. He needs a 4. That's a kill. And because the last boy is within 2 spaces of the Commando he killed, he can put 2 shots into him as well. Needing a 3. That's a 5. That's a kill. That is game. That's the end. That's it. I have finished the game with all of my generators intact and all of my Marines are alive. In fact, only 1 Marine took a wound. It was Brother Angelus. He took a single point of damage right at the very start of the game. I got 5 of the 6 supply cards and ended up using 3. And overall, that's pretty much as good a victory as you're going to get. This game actually has an interesting sliding scale for victory where you basically cross-reference the number of Terminators that died against the number of generators you lost. So you get 2 different blocks of text that get spliced together. One relates to how many Terminators were injured, and one relates to how many power generators were destroyed. So for this particular game, it says, "The Orcs have been utterly vanquished. You have won an unblemished victory, and you are hailed throughout the galaxy as paragons of war, a glorious defense in the Emperor's name." That sounds about right. I'm happy with that. And I have to say, I'm pretty happy with this game. It's cool. It's a good little game. I am not sure yet whether it has the legs that Labyrinth of the Necrons has. With this game, you have a static board, the same 5 Marines in every game, and the real variability comes from the 4 different difficulty settings, the order in which the Orcs come out, and the supply cards you have access to. So there's a lot less variability, and there's not really any way to customize your game experience as there is with Necrons. Necrons had lots of extra challenge cards you could add in, so there were lots of ways to customize your experience for your playstyle, for the difficulty setting you wanted. That's not really here in this game, but it's still cool. I'm still really enjoying it. I think it's neat. The harder settings are hard. This novice setting, it really does just get you to grips with the rules. It teaches you how to play before it smacks your bottom on the next level of difficulty. By the time you are up to level 3, which is Veteran, you are dealing with 8 Orcs per wave, and you have 20 boys, 5 knobs, 10 commandos, 8 burner boys, and 5 mega knobs to deal with. And then on the final setting, on Commander difficulty, it says get ready for carnage, because on that setting you are dealing with 20 boys, 5 knobs, 10 commandos, 8 burner boys, 5 mega knobs, 1 big mech, 1 weird boy, 2 mechs, 1 pain boy, and a Warboss, and they spawn 9 tokens per round. Carnage doesn't begin to describe it. So don't think that from watching this playthrough the game is really easy and write it off. It's really not. This is just a really nice, gentle way to get to grips with how it all works. But I guess that's it from me for now. Thank you so much for watching the video. If you've enjoyed it, please consider pressing the like button. If you've really enjoyed it, please consider subscribing if you don't already do so. And hopefully, I will see you all again very soon. Bye bye everyone. Bye bye.